Welcome children. Today I am going to teach you chemistry for standard 7. Today's topic will be physical and chemical changes, chapter 2. In our previous sections you have gone through so many reactions, like in the chapter of the atomic structure and all those previous chapters. Now, today I like to explain to you about this basic chapter, physical and chemical changes. First of all, what is a change? Any alteration in the physical or chemical behavior in a particular type of reaction, it is called a change. Any alteration in the properties of certain reaction, it is called a change. Now there are so many different types of changes that is happening in and around the world, in and around you. Some of the changes I like to explain you today. Let us see children. Desirable and undesirable change, slow and fast change, reversible, irreversible change, physical, chemical change. Now I like to explain first desirable and undesirable change. Desirable changes are those type of changes in which is useful for us in our day-to-day life. Like that, burning of coal, cooking of food, growing of a plant. These are some of the changes which are useful for us. So such type of changes which are useful for us is called desirable changes. But there are some changes which are happening in and around the world. They are called undesirable change. They called undesirable change, like earthquake, like volcanoes, like you may say spoiling of the foodstuff. All these are the different types of changes which are undesirable in nature. So what is an undesirable change? It is such type of change in which the changes that is happening in and around the world, but it is not useful for us. So that is one of the form of undesirable change. Next, come to slow change. What is a slow change? Slow change are the type of change which is happening, but it takes place more time. It takes more time to complete the reaction. Let us take for example digestion of food. Let us take for example photosynthesis in case of plants. These are some of the types of changes that takes place. It takes time for its completion. So next, fast change. What is a fast change? Fast changes are the types of changes in which the reactions takes place very fast. Let us take for example burning of paper, burning of coal. These are fast changes. They takes place within a fraction of time. Now reversible. There are some changes which reversible and irreversible changes. Reversible changes are such type of changes in which once the reaction takes place, it can be converted back to its original form. Let us take for example what you call that is rainfall. Once the evaporation of the water takes place, it forms clouds. Again these clouds falls back onto the earth as rain in the form of precipitation. Though this is one of the case of reversible reaction. Like that, when ice gets converted to liquid water upon heating, liquid water upon gets heated, it gets converted to gas. Again gas upon cooling, it gets converted to liquid water, and liquid water on further freezing gets converted to ice. So such type of reaction, it is called reversible reaction. So interconversion of states of matter also came to be called as reversible reaction. Irreversible change. Irreversible change, there are such type of change which once the reaction takes place, it cannot be converted back to its original form. That is burning of food. That is digestion of food. Burning of coal. Once the coal gets burned, it gets converted into carbon dioxide and ash, and it cannot be reconverted back to its original form. Similarly, irreversible change. There are so many types of different types of changes. If you burn carbon in presence of oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide gas with the form of ash, and this ash you cannot get converted to its original form of carbon. So it is a irreversible change, and it is also came to be called as a permanent change. Now, physical change and chemical change. Physical change is a such type of changes in which once the reaction takes place, it can be reversed back to its original form. It can be reconverted back to its original form. Let us take for example change of ice to water, and again on heating, and this ice on heating gets converted to water, and water upon cooling gets converted to ice. So this is interconversion of the states of matter. So this is a physical change. This is one of the example of physical change. Chemical change are the types of change in once the reaction takes place, once the product form, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form. This is a chemical change. Let us take for example burning of coal. Once I told you, then you may say growing of a plant into a big tree. Big tree cannot be reconverted back to its form of plant. So it is a permanent change, and it is one of the chemical change. Then you can take for example digestion of food that takes place inside our stomach. So many food constituents are there like proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Fats upon digestion gets converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Proteins upon digestion gets converted into what you call amino acids. Then fats upon digestion gets converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Like that, starch upon gets converted to acid, it gets converted to glucose. So you see, these are some of the types of changes that takes place inside our body and outside our body also. So such type of change which is permanent in nature, which cannot be reconverted back to its original form, such type of changes is called a chemical change. Now children, let us see some of the characteristics of physical and chemical change. Physical change characteristics. It is a non-permanent change, it is a reversible change. Once the product formed, it can be reconverted back to its original form. During the reaction, either no evolve or heat or energy takes place, or if evolve of heat or energy takes place, it having a small or minimum amount of heat. But in case of chemical change, the characteristics of it is a permanent change. Once the product formed, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form. During the course of the reaction, it is having enormous amount of what you call heat and light are released during the course of the reaction. But unlike physical changes, it is not so. Now let us see children, let us go through some of the more examples. Dissolution of solid in a liquid. It is also a physical change. Evaporation, or you may say vaporization, it is characterized as a physical change. Melting of solid as well as freezing, it is also a character of physical change. Then sublimation, it is also a physical change. Now see dissolution. What is dissolution? When solvent, when solute gets deposited, mixed into the solvent, and by that the formation of solution takes place, then such type of process is came to be called as dissolution. Now children see, when solute, that is sugar, suppose we take sugar, it gets deposited into water, and by that it forms sugar solution. So this is one of the example of dissolution, where sugar is the what you call sugar is the solute and water is the solvent, and this is the solution. So you might say that sugar solute will get dissolved into solvent, it forms solution. So this is one of the example of dissolution of solid in a liquid. So this upon crystallization, once the sugar solution form, upon heating it gets evaporated, water molecules get evaporated, and again the formation of crystal form of sugar takes place. So that's why the change can be reconverted back to its original form of sugar. So such type of changes came to be called as physical change. Evaporation, you know, formation of clouds, rain, again this evaporated formation of, it is a chain that takes place in the nature. So such type of change, it is also characterized as a physical change. Next, melting of solid and freezing, that is formation of ice to liquid water, again liquid water back to ice upon freezing. This is also a category of physical change. Next, sublimation. Now you might have seen there are so many substances like naphthalene bonds, like substances like, you may say, ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride, if you heat that substance in a closed retort, and again you find it gets accumulated to the cooler parts of the container. When this is scrapped and reconverted back to its original form of what you call the solute. So such type of change, that is sublimation, is also characterized as a physical change. In fact, sublimation is a type of change in which solid directly gets converted into gaseous state upon heating, and these gases upon cooling gets converted into solid state. So this is the example of sublimation. It is also a category of physical change. Now let us come, children, to chemical changes. There are so many points like rusting of iron. Now see, iron, before the rusting, its color was, it is a grey steel color. Upon rusting, it produces a brown powdery substance. What is called brown powdery substance? This is nothing but hydrated ferric oxide. Hydrated ferric oxide. So rusting is one of the form of a chemical change, because once the product gets converted, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form. So rusting of an iron is a good example of chemical change. Then burning of a candle is a chemical change. See, why it is a chemical change? See, burning of candle in fact is a combination of physical as well as chemical change. Why it is a physical change, children? Because upon burning of the candle, the wax get melted, and these wax you can recollect and reshape into a candle. So that is a physical change. But during the burning of the entire candle, you see that wick, it gets charred. It gets charred means it gets converted into carbon, that is black form. So it is a one type of chemical change. This charred wick cannot be get converted into original form of the wick. So this is charred wick, it becomes black, it becomes carbon. Again, complete burning of candle, you see near the flame of the candle, the formation of carbon dioxide gas and water in the form of vapor also formation takes place. So carbon dioxide gas as well as water vapor formation also takes place. So these carbon dioxide gas and water vapor cannot be recollected and gets converted into a candle. So burning of candle is regarded as a chemical change. Now cooking of food, once the food gets cooked, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form of the food. It is a chemical change. Curdling of milk, milk gets converted to curd upon certain bacterial action, but useful bacterial action. But this curdling of milk, once the milk gets converted into curd, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form of the milk. So you might say it is one form of chemical change. Next, digestion of food. During the digestion of food, you see so many chemical changes that takes place inside our body. Our food, what we eat gets enzymatic actions by so many enzymes that are present inside our body, and ultimately it gets converted into a food, that is digested one. So once the food gets digested, it cannot be reconverted back to its original form. Now during the course of reaction changes, it involves energy. One is exothermic change, another is endothermic change. Exothermic change are the type of changes in which the reaction takes place, which liberates heat energy into the surrounding. It is a type of change in which during the course of the reaction heat and light is liberated outside the reaction. Let us take for example, if you burn carbon in presence of oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide gas, heat and light. So this is one of the example of exothermic change. Then endothermic change. Endothermic change is a type of change in which during the course of the reaction heat gets absorbed. Let us take for example, if you take ammonium chloride in a test tube and that test tube contains water to it, after that you see it gets dissolved into the test tube in that water. Once the dissolved, it gets, if you touch that test tube, you feel a sensation of cooling. That indicates that endothermic change, where heat gets absorbed. So, exothermic change, once the reaction takes place, heat is liberated outside to the surroundings. And endothermic change, it is a type of change, once the reaction takes place, heat gets absorbed during the course of reactions. Now children, let us come to another point, conditions which favors chemical change. There are lots of points. First, contact, medium, heat, light, photography, electricity, pressure and catalyst. Now let us I like to explain about contact. During the course of a reaction, the reactant must get close contact to each other so that the reaction can take place properly. Without the close contact of the reaction cannot take place. So this is one point. Medium. Some reactions, let us take for example what you call in case of baking powder, it consists of sodium hydrogen carbonate and tartaric acid. These two substances, solid substances, cannot react if you mix without the mixing of water. So water here acts as a medium. When it gets reacted, then the formation of proper types of reaction takes place. So medium is needed in order to carry out the chemical change. Next, heat. There are some reactions you find that when carbon gets heated in presence of oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide gas. Okay, and this is called what you call heat is required. Light. Light is also one of the conditions which favor a chemical change. What is that? Light, you see, it is a type of change which is required during the course of a chemical reaction. You might have seen that photosynthesis that takes place in the plants. It is also the green plants prepare their food by the process of photosynthesis. So light is also one of the required conditions which favor a chemical change. Next, photography. Photography, here the light gets reacted and by that it forms a color over the photographic plate. So that is one of the conditions which is needed for a chemical change. Electricity. You might have seen if water, that is acidulated water, if in the water which is in the form of acidulated water, if you pass electric current to it, it produces hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Okay, so you might have seen that when you pass electric current, EC means electric current to acidulated water, it decomposes into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. So this is one of the conditions which favors chemical change. Then pressure. There are certain types of reactions in which exertion of pressure causes favoring a chemical change. That means there are some crackers, if you apply pressure to it, it bursts. It's the type of chemical change that takes place upon bursting, and pressure is one of the conditions which is favorable for that types of chemical change. So it is one of the conditions. Now catalyst. There are some reactions you find if you perform the reaction without the use of catalyst, it takes more consumption of energy, it takes more consumption of fuel, but in that reaction if you apply catalyst, the reaction takes place at a very fast. Let us take for example children, what is that? Potassium chlorate, KClO3. This is one of the potassium chlorate, it is solid form. If some catalyst like MnO2, this is manganese dioxide, if you install, it gets converted into potassium chloride with the formation of oxygen. So this is the original form. Now here, at the time of the reaction, it requires 400 degree Celsius. So without the use of manganese dioxide, it acts as a catalyst, children. Without the use of manganese dioxide, more 600 degrees Celsius of energy it requires. But if you use manganese dioxide, it requires less amount of energy, that is 400 degrees Celsius. So upon decomposition of potassium chlorate, it forms potassium chloride and oxygen gas. So you see, the use of catalyst is one of the conditions which favors a chemical change. So children, I hope you have understood this chapter, physical and chemical changes well, and like that you find out some more examples that is given in your book and write all those important examples that you can find from the nature by yourself. So till then, take care children. Thank you.